Sub-Saharan educational institutions face an impossible mathematical trap. They must rapidly expand their physical footprints to accommodate growing student populations, while operating in environments suffering from severe ecological collapse. Take Alliance High School. Ahead of its 100-year centenary in 2026, the administration is managing a combined 224-acre campus that urgently needs modernization. The school has initiated massive capital expenditure projects. They are actively building a 640-bed centennial hostel and expanding their instructional space with 40 new classrooms. Alongside this, an alumni-driven initiative is attempting to fund a state-of-the-art digital library and multipurpose hall. The funding is split across a 50-40-10 ratio between alumni, the school, and sponsoring churches. But despite raising millions of shillings, the project is stalled by a funding gap of 112.8 million shillings. While the school searches for capital to finish its buildings, it is simultaneously hemorrhaging cash on daily operations. Every year, Alliance spends roughly 2.6 million shillings on a single line item, buying firewood to cook meals for its students. Zoom out, and this localized expense reveals a massive systemic drain. Across the country, Kenyan schools consume an estimated 10 million trees annually just to cook food. They operate on a strict linear take-make-waste model, harvesting mature timber, trucking it to campuses, and burning it, which drives both carbon emissions and localized deforestation. The damage extends beyond the kitchens. To fill those 40 new classrooms, schools procure traditional hardwood desks and chairs, placing chronic stress on slow-growing forest ecosystems that require 30 to 50 years to reach maturity. Relying on ad hoc alumni fundraisers and linear resource extraction to balance these budgets no longer works. To finish its centenary infrastructure, Alliance High must stop functioning as an environmental consumer and start operating as an ecological asset manager. To execute this transition, the school formed a tripartite partnership, starting with a localized agronomic partner, the Earth Keepers Foundation, or EKF. EKF's first mandate is to audit the campus and identify all underutilized, non-arable, and perimeter zones across the 224 acres for specialized afforestation. To fill these zones, they deployed tissue-cultured Bambusa arundinacea, a giant woody grass that grows with extreme aggression. This chart compares the biomass accumulation of giant bamboo against traditional timber. During its initial shooting phase, this bamboo species can grow up to 4 feet per day. While eucalyptus requires decades to mature, bamboo reaches harvestable commercial scale in 3 to 5 years. By targeting the campus's natural drainage channels and wetland depressions, EKF optimizes for teal carbon. The exceptionally dense root systems lock the soil in place, preventing agricultural erosion while maximizing the density of the carbon stored in these wet microecosystems. And because it is a grass, it is never clear-cut. Agronomists use a selective horseshoe harvesting method. By cutting only 20 to 30% of the mature stalks each year, the plant is stimulated to continuously push out new shoots. The subterranean root network remains permanently undisturbed. This creates a self-sustaining biological engine, generating up to 40 tons of dry biomass per hectare every single year, without requiring the school to purchase a single extra acre of land. That massive yield of raw biomass solves the school's immediate operational bleed, starting with the 2.6 million shillings spent annually on kitchen firewood. The first conversion pathway targets the secondary waste. All the offcuts, branches, and sawdust generated during the harvest are pulverized, carbonized, and compressed into highly dense briquettes. This chart compares traditional fuel procurement against the bamboo circular model. By manufacturing its own fuel on campus, the school achieves a 35% reduction in overall expenditures. This creates massive operational savings. Furthermore, these briquettes burn with virtually zero smoke, drastically reducing hazardous particulate air pollution inside the school kitchens. The primary mature stalks, the high-value timber, are diverted to a second pathway, manufacturing pre-engineered bamboo boards, or PEB. High school boarding environments are incredibly punishing on physical infrastructure. Standard softwood desks and bed frames degrade rapidly under high traffic and remain highly vulnerable to termite infestations. By processing the harvested bamboo into PEB, the school secures a composite material with extreme tensile strength. It is naturally fire retardant, termite-proof, and drops institutional furniture replacement costs to near zero. Crucially, converting this biomass into hard architectural goods creates carbon lock-in. The carbon drawn out of the atmosphere by the growing bamboo is now physically trapped inside the school's classrooms for decades. By supplying the raw material from its own grounds and acting as the guaranteed buyer for the finished goods, Alliance High deflates its operating budget while simultaneously subsidizing local green manufacturing. Operational savings alone, however, cannot pay for a 640-bed hostel or a digital library. The school still needs liquid capital to close that 112.8 million shilling gap. This requires the third pillar of the partnership, Verity Nature, an international climate technology firm that connects localized ecological data to global carbon compliance markets. Historically, carbon projects in Africa have faced intense skepticism. Methodologies relying on sparse manual forestry sampling generate vast estimation errors, leading to suspended projects and worthless credits. Verity Nature eliminates this critical vulnerability by deploying a fully digitized measurement, reporting, and verification toolkit across the campus. They use drone-based LiDAR to scan precise canopy volumes and conduct environmental DNA testing to track shifting biodiversity metrics. This raw ecological data is then anchored to an immutable Web3 blockchain ledger. Because this proof of carbon removal is absolutely transparent and cannot be double-counted, these specific credits command premium spot prices, frequently trading between $15 and $20 per ton. The mechanism that ensures this global revenue actually reaches the school is the Kenyan Climate Change Carbon Markets Regulations, enacted in 2024. Under this strict statutory mandate overseen by NEMA, any carbon project developed on public or community land must disperse exactly 40% of its aggregate earnings directly back to the host institution. This legal framework effectively inverts the traditional extractive carbon market. It transforms verifiable biological data into a legally protected, recurring centenary green fund, generating the exact liquid capital needed to pay down the hard infrastructure debt. This diagram illustrates the complete closed-loop ecosystem. Raw bamboo afforestation generates physical biomass, which drives immediate operational savings through briquettes and sustainable furniture, while blockchain-verified carbon data creates continuous financial yield. But the system only survives long-term if maintained by the people living inside it. The operation is directly integrated into the student body's daily curriculum through the National Eco Schools program. Students take a direct operational role, managing tissue culture nurseries and conducting field measurements via proprietary smartphone apps to feed the carbon registry. The campus becomes a living, high-tech laboratory. Biology classes analyze live rhizome propagation, while economics students study the real-time pricing dynamics of the carbon markets, generating their school's revenue. By the year 2030, this model projects a completely zero-waste campus. Alliance High School secures its financial sovereignty, insulated from fluctuating government budgets by a permanent USD-denominated ecological endowment. The implications of this localized success extend to the entire national education sector. If proven here, the Alliance Blueprint can be formally adopted by national ministries as the standard operating framework for over 10,000 public secondary schools across Kenya. When that happens, these institutions will stop draining millions of trees from the landscape simply to survive. Instead, they will form the mechanized backbone of the nation's Paris Agreement climate strategy, generating verifiable sovereign finance and graduating a vanguard of highly technical climate leaders equipped to run the emerging global green economy.